Mash lives deep inside a forest with his adoptive father, Regro Bernade, and Regro keeps him away from the city for one serious reason. In this world, magic controls status, money, respect, and even daily life, so anyone without magic is treated like a mistake that should not exist. Mash has no magic at all, but his body is so strong that even simple things become a problem. That is why Regro trains him with only physical workouts. One day, Mash comes home and breaks the door because he cannot remember if he should push or pull. Regro gets angry, but Mash calmly says he will fix it, and for him, fixing the door means shoving it back into the frame with force, which only makes it worse. Regro finally gives up because it is not easy to stay angry at Mash for long. Later, Mash asks why his training is only physical workouts, but Regro does not tell him the full truth. Regro only knows that Mash's body must become strong enough to survive in a world that would reject him the moment people see what he really is. Before leaving for an errand, Regro clearly warns Mash not to go into the city. Mash agrees, but as soon as Regro is gone, he sees a flyer for limited cream puffs, so his promise loses to his stomach, and he puts on a cloak before heading out. In the city, he sees people using magic for even small tasks, but he thinks these things could be done by hand. When he reaches the bakery and happily orders cream puffs, he pays with coins that are all bent because he squeezed them too hard in excitement. The baker is shocked, but Mash casually straightens the coins with his fingers like it is nothing. Right then, a strong wind blows off his cloak and everyone sees his face. People start staring because Mash does not have a magic mark on his face, which is a very serious problem in this world. At the police station, an officer named Brad Coleman is watching the news about Rain Ames, who has just become a divine visionary, a title given to the top student in the magic world, which comes with fame, money, and power. Brad is bored with his life, but then he gets a report about an unmarked boy in the city. Mash keeps walking while eating cream puffs and wonders why people keep staring at him. And then he bumps into a drunk officer named Terry, getting cream on his uniform. Terry starts ranting about his hard job in anger, so Mash offers him a half-eaten cream puff, but Terry feels insulted and throws it away. Then Mash tries to help by taking off his uniform to wash it, but because of his abnormal strength, he rips the whole uniform off Terry's body. Brad arrives and quickly realizes Mash is the same unmarked boy from the report, but before he can arrest him, Regro shows up, grabs Mash, and runs away. Brad gets excited because he finally finds something interesting in his boring life, so he sends a magic bird to track them. Back at home, Regro scolds Mash for going to the city even after being warned, and Mash feels guilty, so Regro punishes him by making him repeat his morning workout. Mash agrees and gives Regro the cream puffs he bought before leaving for training, and Regro quickly opens the door for him because he still remembers what Mash did to the door last time. After Mash leaves, Regro thinks about how good Mash's heart is, and he knows Mash just wanted to see the outside world after being hidden in the forest for years, but now the police know about him, so they will have to run. Before Regro can do anything, he sees Brad's magic bird outside the window, and then Brad and his men blast into the house. In the forest, Mash finishes his workout in minutes, lifting huge weights like toys and moving so fast that even the animals get confused, and then he heads home for his cream puffs. As soon as he arrives, he hears Brad's voice threatening Regro, and Brad explains that the magic world removes people who cannot use magic to keep itself strong, so hiding a boy like Mash is a serious crime. Regro refuses to hand Mash over and remembers his past, where everyone called him a failure. He had almost given up on life, but then he found baby Mash crying alone, and since Mash had no mark, the world had rejected him too. Regro saw himself in that baby and decided to raise him as his own son. Regro shouts for Mash to run away, and Brad starts beating him, but instead of running, Mash breaks the door and knocks out an officer. When Terry attacks him, Mash rips his uniform off again and slaps him to the ground. Regro asks why he did not escape, and Mash says Regro is his only family. Brad laughs because Mash has no magic, but Mash does not care. Brad fires a spell strong enough to scare off a dragon, but Mash just slaps it away, and when Brad uses stronger attacks, Mash swats them like balls. When more spells come at him, he catches and handles them like it is a game, and then he picks up Regro's wand and throws it straight through Brad's barrier, dropping Brad to his knees. Brad finally understands that Mash is dangerous in a very strange way, so instead of fighting more, he offers a deal. Mash must enter Easton Magic Academy and become a divine visionary, and Brad will get reward and fame for helping him. Since refusing means they will always be hunted, Mash accepts the deal. Mash puts a fake mark on his face and arrives at Easton Magic Academy, where he has to take the entrance exam, which is so tough that very few applicants pass. The academy has produced many divine visionaries, so everyone thinks only elite magic users should get in. But while the other students look nervous and serious, Mash is lifting weights on the exam field like he is in gym class, not a magic test. The examiner, Claude Lucci, looks at the applicants and expects everyone to focus and prepare, but he sees Mash pumping iron, reading the fitness book, and doing weird strength training in the middle of the entrance exam. Brad and Regro are watching Mash from behind, since this plan will decide if they can live safely or not. Claude tries to ignore Mash for now, because he thinks a boy like that could never pass anyway. Claude makes a flashy entrance and introduces himself, and the students start praising him, feeding his ego, but Mash does not care, and comments that Claude went overboard for a simple entrance, so Claude starts to dislike Mash right away. He begins the exam and tells everyone to take a seat, but there are no seats, so Claude creates seats, papers, and quills with magic, which shocks the students again, while Mash thinks this could have been done in a normal room. This makes Claude dislike him even more. The written exam starts, but the words in the paper keep moving around, making it impossible to read the questions, so applicants have to use magic to stop the words, and Brad and Regro think Mash is finished. But Mash gets annoyed, crushes his pen, and orders the words to stop, so the words understand their situation and line up properly. Mash completes the test, and Claude is shocked to find that Mash got all the answers correct. After that, Mash clears the rest of the test in his own stupid way, handling the boulder test, running on water, and passing every challenge with raw strength instead of real magic. Claude cannot accept this, because Mash is surviving tests that should have finished him, so he decides to take Mash out with the maze test. Claude raises a huge maze from the ground and tells the applicants they have to reach the goal in limited time. Mash thinks it looks simple, but a girl named Lemon Irvine comes to him and asks to go together, so Mash lets her join, but Lemon keeps falling into traps and asking for help again and again. At first, Mash just thinks she is weak and unlucky, but then Lemon ties him up with magic cuffs as soon as he turns his back. Lemon apologizes and explains she has her own reason for doing this, since Claude promised to let her pass if she stopped Mash, and she needs this chance for herself and her family. Mash realizes he has been tricked, but he does not waste time and just breaks the cuffs with his hands and runs ahead, because he has his own reason for passing too. After Mash leaves, Lemon ends up in front of a sphinx-like creature which asks her a riddle, but Lemon cannot answer, so the creature gets ready to attack. Lemon knows she betrayed Mash, so she thinks she does not deserve to ask for help, but before the creature can hit, Mash returns and knocks it down with one punch. Lemon is shocked that Mash saved her even after her betrayal, and Mash tells her that they are both desperate for their own reasons, so he can understand her a little. Time is almost up, and Lemon worries they cannot reach the goal, but Mash decides the shortest path is a straight line, so instead of solving the maze like a normal applicant, he smashes through the walls straight to the goal. The other applicants get angry and call him a cheater because he destroyed the maze instead of finishing it properly, and Mash looks a bit shaken by their words, but Lemon speaks up for him. Lemon confesses that Claude ordered her to stop Mash and promised to let her pass in return, and then she adds her own weird version and claims Mash basically proposed marriage, which Mash denies because he never said anything like that. But Lemon has already chosen her fantasy, so facts do not matter anymore. Claude admits he did all this and says he will fail both Mash and Lemon. He tries to scare them with his authority and magic, but Mash just walks up to him and breaks his wand with his fist. Claude finally realizes this boy is not normal, but before things can go further, Headmaster Wahlberg arrives and takes control of the exam. Mash is called for the final interview, and the officials ask him questions but are not impressed by his simple answers. Mash explains he wants to enter the school so he can live peacefully with his family, and then Wahlberg asks why he saved Lemon when time was almost up. Mash says he thought he would regret it later if he left her behind. Wahlberg understands that Mash acts first and thinks later, so he tests him with a harsh spell, trapping Regro's soul, Mash's most important person, in a doll, and lowering a deadly spike over it. Mash punches the spike, but it does not stop and his hand starts to bleed. So when brute force does not work, Mash grabs the spike and plans to hold it until the magic runs out. Wahlberg is impressed by his will, thinking power should be used to protect weak people and control those who use strength in the wrong way. So he ends the spell, reveals it was a test, and accepts Mash into Easton Magic Academy. Later, Mash attends class where students learn a basic lock opening spell, and while the teacher shows them how to open the lock with magic, Mash just rips the lock open with his hands. The teacher gets angry because Mash did not use any magic. A student named Finn Ames sees this and hopes he will not have to deal with this problem boy too much. After class, Finn gets to his dorm room and finds the door is missing, and Mash is already inside holding the broken door like it is normal. Finn realizes Mash is his roommate, and Mash introduces himself. So for a second, Finn thinks maybe he could be a normal guy, but then Mash introduces his muscles too, and Finn knows his school life is already in trouble from day one. Mash's school life at Easton starts, but even before class, the first problem shows up. He asks Finn if he can borrow his broom because there is a broom flying lesson later and he forgot to bring his own, which shocks Finn since forgetting a broom as a magic student is already dumb. But then he sees Mash has brought a huge plant root instead of a broom. Finn finally gives up and lets him borrow his broom. The class gathers outside and the teacher tells everyone to command their brooms to fly, and while the other students do it according to their skill, Mash's broom does not move at all. Everyone starts laughing at him because he seems like the only student who cannot even do the most basic thing. Mash gets tired of waiting, stomps on the ground, and the shock makes the broom fly straight into his hand. The others call it cheating because he did not use magic, but Mash acts like the result is all that matters. After that, the teacher starts the broom time trial, where students have to fly from one point to another as fast as they can. A student who made fun of Mash challenges him to a race and says the loser has to obey the winner until graduation, and Mash accepts without thinking much. The student feels confident because he's been using a broom since childhood, while Mash looks like he cannot even float his broom. The race starts and Mash almost instantly reaches the finish line. Everyone is so confused they cannot even understand what happened, but Finn clearly sees Mash throw the broom forward, jump after it with raw strength, land on it midair, and reach the goal before the other boy can even move. The teacher announces it as a world record, which makes the student even angrier, and he accuses Mash of cheating, but Mash pities him and cancels the bet instead of making him obey until graduation. The boy still does not stop talking, but another student steps in and shuts him up with magic. This student is Lloyd, and the whole class gets tense right away because everyone knows he is trouble. Lloyd introduces himself, but Mash hears his name wrong, something like cabbage, which makes things even worse. Lloyd is clearly annoyed, but the teacher stops the situation because they are still in class, and before leaving, Lloyd tells Mash to meet him after school. After class, Finn explains why everyone is scared of Lloyd. Lloyd's family is powerful, and his father has a connection with the vice principal, so anyone who goes against him can get expelled or ruined. Finn has seen students suffer because of this, so he knows Lloyd is not just some annoying rich kid. Mash listens, but the warning does not really stick in his head. Later, Mash goes back to his room and starts making cream puffs, enjoying it so much that he feels like he is forgetting something, but cannot remember what. That something is Lloyd, who is waiting outside and getting angrier with every passing moment. The next day, Mash goes to class and sees his textbook has been badly ruined. Lloyd comes over and asks why he did not show up yesterday, and Mash honestly says he was busy making cream puffs, which annoys Lloyd even more. Then Lloyd asks if Mash wants to become a divine visionary, and since Mash needs that title to protect his peaceful life with Regro, he says yes. Lloyd offers to help him using his connection with the vice principal if Mash listens to him, and when Mash accepts, Lloyd starts treating him like a servant, giving him small and annoying orders just for entertainment. In the next class, Mash finds another textbook ruined, so he asks Finn to share his book, and even though Finn hesitates, Mash sits with him anyway and thanks him for being a good friend. This makes Finn feel worse because he is hiding something, and Lloyd takes things further by purposely spilling water and ordering Mash to clean it up. Mash cleans the floor so well it starts to shine, but then remembers he needs to return Finn's book, so he goes to find Finn and sees him with Lloyd, and the truth comes out. Finn was the one who ruined Mash's books because Lloyd forced him to do it. Now Lloyd wants Finn to burn Mash's clothes too, but Finn finally refuses, saying he does not want to betray Mash anymore. Lloyd uses magic to hurt Finn and makes him collapse, and when Mash arrives, Finn cries and apologizes, admitting he ruined the books because Lloyd ordered him to. Lloyd acts like he just wanted an apology, but Mash has seen enough. He grabs Lloyd by the hair and smashes his face into the ground, knocking him out. Finn panics and tells Mash he could get expelled for this, and then the vice principal Farming Krego shows up. He says Lloyd's father told him to look after Lloyd, so he will treat this as an attack on an important student. He ignores everything Lloyd did and only blames Mash and Finn because their status is lower, and he keeps putting them down. So Mash decides reasoning is useless and knees him in the face. Farman tries to threaten him with expulsion and magic, but Mash throws dirt in his face, digs a hole, and shoves him inside. Farman says Mash will not get away with this, but Mash tells him if Farman can expel him anytime, then Mash can bury him anytime. After this mess, Mash is called to the headmaster. The expulsion notice from the bureau has already arrived, but Wahlberg burns it, saying Mash did the right thing, and he does not want good people crushed by status. He tells Mash that to become a divine visionary, he will need strong grades and lots of coins, which he can earn from school events and achievements. Mash does not understand the complicated explanation, so Wahlberg makes it simple and tells him to just collect coins and keep moving forward. After Mash took down Lloyd, the other students started looking at him differently, since Lloyd was seen as untouchable because of his power and family background, but Mash crushed him like the rules meant nothing. Because of this, a student named Tom comes to Mash and asks him to join the upcoming Duello match. Tom is the sports MVP of his dorm, so he takes the game very seriously. Duello is an aerial sport where players fly on broomsticks and throw the ball into the enemy goal. And during the match, magic is not allowed because the whole game depends on broom control. The problem is simple. Mash cannot use magic, so he cannot fly on a broom, but Tom does not believe him and forces him onto the team. During the match, Mash just stands on the ground while all the other players are flying in the air, and the crowd thinks he is not even trying, so his team starts losing badly. Tom comes down and asks why Mash is not doing anything, and Mash explains he still cannot ride a broom, so Tom finally explains the rules properly, and Mash finally learns that to score points, he has to throw the ball into the opponent's ring. Tom goes back into the game, but the enemy captain purposely crashes into him and knocks him down, pretending it was an accident, but everyone can see it was on purpose. Tom gets hurt, and it looks like his bone is broken, and when Tom talks about sportsmanship, the enemy captain does not care because he only wants to win. Adler is already far behind in points, and now their best player is down. Still, Tom tells Mash that winning is not everything, and says Mash should just enjoy the game and do his best, which finally makes Mash take the match seriously. He picks up his broom and jumps into the air, and everyone thinks he is flying, but actually he is kicking his leg so fast that he can stay in the air like a broken human machine. Mash tells his team to pass him the ball, and the enemy team moves to block him, but Mash has no plan to pass through them. He throws the ball with insane force, blasting it past the defenders and straight into the goal, and then the ball spins back to his hand like a boomerang. Mash keeps repeating this move again and again until Adler's score goes beyond everyone's common sense. In the end, they win with a ridiculous record score, and Mash gets a silver coin as a reward. Tom comes to him with a serious face, but instead of being angry, he hugs Mash and thanks him for saving the match. Finn thinks Mash's performance is amazing, but Mash has already decided he never wants to play Duello again. Somewhere else, Lance sees the news about Mash's record and remembers him from the entrance exam, so he destroys Mash's picture and decides Mash will be his next target. The next day, Tom keeps bothering Mash to train for the next Duello tournament, while Lemon wants him to study with her, but Mash is not interested in either of them, though they keep bothering him anyway. Then Lance shows up and interrupts them, and Lemon is almost distracted by his looks, but she is already so obsessed with Mash that she cannot fully switch sides. Lance pulls out a special magical bottle and traps Mash's friends inside it, telling Mash to come to the forest if he wants them back. Mash follows him, and Lance reveals he is also collecting coins, and he has 2 silver coins, so he challenges Mash to a duel where both will bet 1 coin each. Lance is different from most students because he has 2 magic lines on his face, meaning his magic power is much higher than normal. He prepares the field with gravity magic, and then attacks Mash, who tries to rush him with his fists, but Lance increases the gravity and slams Mash into the ground. Brad and Regro, who are secretly watching nearby, also feel the effect of the spell. Lance mocks Mash for chasing the Divine Visionary title, but not seeming serious enough, saying Mash should leave the chance for someone with a stronger goal. Mash struggles under the pressure, but he does not need to stand up in the normal way. He punches the ground, grabs huge roots, and pulls them out, breaking the earth under Lance and messing up his balance. Mash attacks again, and Lance tries to stop him with gravity magic, but Mash pushes through with speed and strength. During the fight, Mash knocks off Lance's necklace, opens it, and sees a picture of a little girl, which makes Mash worry Lance might be some lonely creep, but Lance explains the girl is his little sister. He is way too attached to his sister, and that does not make him less creepy to Mash. Then Lance reveals why he wants to become a Divine Visionary. His sister has an incurable disease that will slowly take away her magic, and in their world, losing magic means losing the right to a normal life. Even his parents were ready to abandon her when they found out. Lance wants the Divine Visionary title so he can protect his sister from the system. Even after hearing this, Mash cannot afford to lose. Lance holds the bottle near a cliff and says he will drop Mash's friends, then attack Mash when he tries to save them. He drops the bottle and uses magic to make it fall even faster, but Mash changes into his workout gear, gets into a running stance, and rushes down the cliff so fast that Lance cannot even follow his movement. Mash comes back almost instantly and reveals that Lance dropped an empty bottle, so Lance never really planned to hurt them. Then Mash rushes him, searches his clothes, finds the real bottle, and frees his friends. Since Lance is not actually a bad guy, Mash does not want to fight him anymore. Lance accepts his loss, gives Mash his silver coin, and leaves, while Mash's friends gather around him and thank him for saving them. At Easton Academy, students are divided into 3 dorms based on their traits: Adler for courage, Orca for wisdom, and Lang for ambition. These dorms compete with each other, so every coin has value. Mash now has 2 silver coins, and Finn explains that 5 silver coins make 1 gold coin, which looks like real progress toward becoming a divine visionary for Mash. Mash and Finn are sitting together in Adler dorm enjoying doing nothing, and Finn thinks the moment is peaceful, but then reality hits hard. They have to submit a potions assignment, and both have completely forgotten about it, and if they fail this assignment, their grades could drop into dropout range. Mash tries to calm Finn by offering a cream puff, but Finn is not in the mood to solve academic failure with snacks. At that moment, Lance comes in and scolds them for wasting time, and since he is the top student, he has already finished his assignment like a proper annoying genius. Mash and Finn ask him for help, but Lance refuses and keeps putting them down. Then Mash shows the picture of Lance's little sister from his locket, which Lance cannot handle and crashes into the wall. After this cheap trick works, Lance finally agrees to help them. He brings out a mandrake, which is a screaming plant that looks like a creepy radish, and explains that once its scream is silenced, it can be used as a potion ingredient. He puts his mandrake to sleep with magic, making the process simple, so Finn follows his advice and does the spell properly. But when Mash tries, the plant screams even louder, and somehow, he turns the mandrake into a huge monster, which attacks, but Mash just knocks it out with a slap. Lance moves to the next step and shows them how to prepare the ingredient and make the potion. Finn does not find the process easy, but Mash feels confident since this part does not need magic. He carefully copies Lance's steps, but somehow the result is a cream puff. Lance thinks Mash is joking, so he guides him step by step, but it still turns into a cream puff. No matter what they do, Mash keeps creating cream puffs. These are useless for potions, but at least the cream puffs taste good. Meanwhile, Headmaster Wahlberg thinks about the upcoming joint class between the dorms and worries if Mash will be okay or not. At the same time, a red-haired student named Dot Barrett bumps into some students, and when they tell him to apologize, Dot beats them up instead and calls them side characters. Dot has a serious problem in his head since he truly believes he is the main character of this world. On the other side, the Lang dorm students have a meeting with a dark mood, believing only strong people should rule and that Adler dorm is not worthy. Their leader orders them to steal coins from Adler students, which means Mash and his group are already targets. The next day, Adler and Lang have a joint class in the forest, and Mash wonders why they're even there, when Dot Barrett shows up like the whole place was made for him. He looks at Mash and decides Mash is a side character, but then Lemon arrives and asks Mash if she can stay with him, which makes Dot angry because Mash is getting a girl's attention while he is not. Lemon makes it worse by still acting like she's going to marry Mash, so Dot starts ranting about how guys like Mash ruin his life. The teacher starts the class and explains the task. Students have to defeat 4 scorpions and collect stones from their heads, and normal stones are worth a bronze coin, but stronger scorpions have square stones worth a silver coin. Mash is instantly interested because he needs coins. Before the task properly starts, a Lang student named Silva comes to Mash. Silva is a second year who is held back for bad behavior and is known for injuring students and even teachers. He has seen Mash's performance before, but still acts like Mash is nothing. Silva attacks him with an iron pillar, and the teacher quickly stops the fight. Silva pretends they were just messing around, but Mash gives him a cold look. Lance warns Mash to avoid him, but Mash is more worried about whether his cream puff got crushed. They enter the forest, and Lance wants to team up with Mash, but Mash zones out and disappears from the group. He then bumps into Dot, who starts yelling again, so Mash just shuts him up with a slap. Dot wants to fight him, but then they hear a girl crying for help. A student seems to be attacking her, and Dot defeats him with an explosion. The girl thanks Dot, and he immediately loses his mind because a girl is touching and praising him. The girl acts helpless, but she's not as innocent as she looks. She uses charm magic, which makes anyone who finds her attractive fall in love with her. Dot is already an easy victim, so the magic works perfectly on him. She tries the same trick on Mash, but it has no effect because Mash is not interested in her at all, which shocks her, but Dot is still under her control. She tells Dot that Silva is forcing her to use her magic, so Dot promises to help her. At that moment, Silva arrives and attacks, and Dot fires a bunch of explosions at him and finishes with a stronger blast, thinking he has won. But when the smoke clears, Silva has blocked everything with his iron magic. Silva mocks Dot for thinking he was special, then slams him with an iron pillar. Dot drops to his knees and starts to realize the gap between them is huge. Then Silva's attack knocks the cream puff out of Mash's hand. Dot gets worried because Mash seems useless in this fight, but Mash is staring at the fallen cream puff like Silva just made the biggest mistake. After blocking Dot's explosions, Silva keeps mocking him, and Dot starts to realize the gap between them is not small. Silva enjoys this because he likes breaking people who think they are special. He gives Dot a deal. If Dot can survive his attacks, he will let the girl go, and he also bets a silver coin, since coins can be wagered in academy fights. Dot accepts because the girl looks scared, and he is already too deep in his hero fantasy. Silva first says Mash is involved too, but Dot refuses to drag Mash in and decides to take all the hits himself, thinking he can handle it, but the first iron pillar drops him to his knees. Still, he stands up again because he wants to look cool in front of the girl. Silva keeps hitting him with iron magic, and Dot takes brutal hit after brutal hit. The girl keeps watching with fake worry, while Mash silently observes the whole mess. After many attacks, Dot can barely stand, but he remembers the girl crying for help, so he forces himself up again. Silva prepares a stronger final hit and slams him down, and Dot looks almost finished, but somehow stands up again and walks towards Silva, thinking he survived the challenge, but then his body gives out and he collapses. Silva laughs at him and calls him an idiot. Even then, Dot tells Mash to take the girl and run, but finally, the truth comes out. The girl is working with Silva. She mocks Dot for being so easy to fool and says she hates guys like him. Dot is crushed inside because he took all that damage for a girl who played him like a toy. Silva laughs even harder, but suddenly Mash shoves a cream puff into his mouth. Mash does not really like Dot that much, but even he thinks Silva and the girl have gone too far. He steps forward and says he will take the challenge too. Silva thinks Mash is just another weak guy acting tough, which he enjoys crushing. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, Finn, Lemon, and Lance defeat a scorpion. Lemon worries about Mash, but she thinks he will be fine since he beat the examiner during the entrance exam, but Lance explains it is not that simple. Some magic users focus on study or support, while others specialize in battle, and Mash has mostly fought magic users who were not pure combat types, so a second-year combat mage like Silva could be dangerous. Silva starts attacking Mash with iron pillars, and Mash takes the hits but does not fall. Silva sees his robe was damaged by Dot's first attack, so he gets even more annoyed and tries to punish them harder. Mash rushes him, but Silva counters and pushes him back, bragging about his power and telling Mash he earned 2 gold coins in his first year, meaning he is not just some random student. Silva keeps firing iron attacks, but Mash catches a pillar and crushes it with his hand, then prepares his strange muscle move and charges forward. Silva throws more iron, but Mash dodges and breaks through each attack, then punches Silva and sends him flying. Silva starts bleeding and cannot understand how someone could do this without magic. He tries to fight back again because his pride cannot accept losing to a first year, but Mash breaks his counterattack and hits him again. Silva drops to his knees and starts to realize he cannot last much longer. Mash steps back, sits on a tree like he is waiting his turn in a boring office, and tells Silva there is still 8 hits left. Silva panics because one more hit could finish him. At that moment, a huge forest scorpion appears with a star-shaped stone on its head, meaning it is stronger and more valuable than a normal scorpion. Silva thinks this is his chance to escape by leaving Mash busy with the monster, but Mash just slaps the scorpion away, and the starstone drops like free reward material. Silva finally understands Mash is not normal at all. Mash feels he has fought Silva enough, so he turns to the girl, who immediately starts crying and says Silva forced her to help him. In her head, she thinks fooling men is too easy, but Mash does not fall for her trap. He treats her like everyone else and slams her to the ground. Dot sees this and thinks there is something seriously wrong with Mash, but the girl just picked the wrong guy to manipulate. After everything ends, Mash meets up with Finn, Lemon, and Lance again. Lemon is worried because Mash looks beaten up, but he says he is fine. Finn sees the starstone and explains its value is equal to 2 silver coins. Lemon checks on Dot too, and Dot is instantly charmed by her kindness, proving he has learned almost nothing from what just happened. Still, he apologizes to Mash for dragging him into the fight and thanks him, but when Mash says he's acting weird, Dot snaps back and starts threatening him, since being nice already took too much effort. Then Mash's coins start to glow, and his silver coins combine into a gold coin. Lance explains this makes Mash an even bigger target, since Langdorm is hunting Adler students' coins, and Silva was probably just one of their pawns. Lang values power, bloodlines, and status, and their elite group Magi Lupus wants to stop ordinary students from rising to the Bureau of Magic. Mash then admits he did not even remember there were different dorms in the academy. Finn reminds him about the sorting ceremony, when students had to touch the unicorn skeleton's horn, which read their minds and placed them in a dorm. When Mash touched it, the skeleton only saw cream puffs inside his head, and for the first time in centuries, after struggling, it decided that anyone who loves cream puffs that much probably belongs in Adler. Lance warns Mash that after getting a gold coin, he is now a target, so he should stay close to Adler students. But Mash hears hears the warning and then immediately gets lost while looking for his class. He finds a strange room and, seeing the door, starts thinking if he should push or pull, which means the poor door's future is already over. Inside the room, Silva is kneeling in front of Abel, the long dorm leader, apologizing for losing to Mash and asking for another chance, but Abel now sees him as useless. Abel talks about removing weak people from the world and making society pure again, then turns Silva into a puppet. Abel even talks to a doll he calls Mother, making the room even more uncomfortable. At that moment, Mash breaks the door and comes in, apologizing for ruining another door, and adds him to his creepy collection. He sees Abel talking to a doll and bluntly points out that it is weird. Abel already knows Mash has a gold coin, so he asks why Mash wants to become a divine visionary, and Mash gives the same simple answer. He just wants to live peacefully with his family because the current world will not accept him. Abel does not like this answer, since he believes magic is everything and weak people, or those without magic, should be removed to keep society strong. Mash does not understand his long speech, and just thinks Abel wants peace too, which annoys Abel even more, so he offers to let Mash go if he gives up his gold coin, but Mash refuses. Abel sends the Silva puppet to attack Mash, but Mash dodges and breaks the puppet strings with his legs. Silva returns to normal, but then Abel uses a stronger puppet to grab Mash and take his coin. The puppet flicks the coin to Abel and throws Mash into a pillar. Mash stands back up and says he will take Silva to the infirmary first because Silva needs help. Abel thinks Mash has given up on the coin, but after Mash leaves, he realizes he is only holding a button. Mash had used his mouth and speed to swap the coin with the puppet's button before anyone could notice. In the infirmary, Silva wakes up with no memory of being a puppet and sees Mash working out nearby, realizing Mash saved him despite everything Silva did to him. When Mash sees Silva is awake, he leaves, while Silva starts thinking about his own actions. Meanwhile, Lance and Dot are in Mash and Finn's room, arguing like they have hated each other for years. Dot is irritated by Lance's good looks and thinks Lance's life must have been easy, but Lance is ready to teach him a lesson. Finn cannot even understand why both of them are in his room. Before a fight can break out, Mash breaks the door again and tells them not to damage his room. Then Lemon arrives with big news and takes them to a magic scale that shows how many gold coins each dorm has. Lang already has a lot of coins, while Adler and Orca barely have any, so at this rate, Lang will take the divine visionary seat. Since Orca mostly focuses on research, Adler will have to stop lying before they collect everything. Everyone gets fired up, but Mash still has Headmaster's punishment. He has to clean the owl hut for a week, and the owls keep pecking him, making the situation less heroic. Lance decides to help him, partly because Lang could attack Mash for his coin, and Mash thinks Lance is just worried about him, even though Lance does not want to admit it like a normal person. Soon, two Lang students come to take Mash's coin. Suddenly, water appears under Mash and he falls in, while at the same time, Lance dodges a spinning blade. The two attackers introduce themselves as Olor Andrew and Answer Shinri, who are members of Magi Lupus and part of Lang's elite group, and they challenge Mash and Lance, betting a gold coin. Olor Andrew controls water and becomes a shark to hunt Mash inside his sea field, but Mash sinks at first, saying he has never swum before. Olor Andrew thinks he has already won. Olor transforms into a stronger shark-like form, but Mash keeps swimming and ramming into him, hitting him again and again until he gets knocked out of the water field. On the other side, Answer Shinri attacks Lance with spinning blades. Lance could crush him with gravity magic, but the owls are in the way, and whenever he tries to cast properly, he remembers his sister would not want him to hurt animals. Answer sees this as weakness and acts superior, but Lance quietly moves the owls to a safe spot, dropping a shovel on a feed bag to gather them together, and then uses gravity magic to crush Answer's blades. Answer tries his strongest attack, but Lance crushes that too, saying Answer only fights to feel above others, while he fights for his sister, so their power is not the same. Mash and Lance defeat both attackers and take their coin. They think the Magi Lupus members were not that strong, but then a masked student appears and moves past them in an instant. Lance tries to use gravity magic, but it does not work, and Mash changes into his workout gear and rushes him, but the masked student dodges. He is only there to retrieve his allies, so he collects Olor and Ansar in a magic bottle and leaves, and as he goes, his mask cracks from Mash's attack. He wonders how Mash moves so fast without magic, and thinks Mash might be like him. That same night, the masked student attacks an Orca student for his gold coin and defeats him easily. The next day, Lance says they should find Lang's hidden dorm and attack first, but Mash is busy making cream puffs. Lance gives him a new Adler robe, hoping he will remember his dorm this time. Lance tries to make a plan against Magi Lupus, but Mash is too busy making cream puffs like the enemy can wait. Then Lemon rushes in with bad news, so they all go to the infirmary and find Tom lying there completely weak. Tom explains he does not remember what happened to him, saying he usually lives with full energy, so he takes takes deep sleep and does not even dream. But last night he felt like he was trapped in a dark box, aware of everything but unable to move. Now he feels like his magic power has been drained from his body and he cannot use magic properly. Tom is not the only victim. Many other students have lost their magic energy too. It looks like these attacks started when Headmaster Wahlberg was called away by the Bureau of Magic, which makes the situation worse, since the main person controlling the school is not there. Lemon gives Mash a cream puff charm and tells him not to do anything too risky, wanting him to keep it and remember her. But before anyone can say anything, her imagination starts going in a weird direction. Later that night, Mash and Lance walk around the school to find Langdorm, and Dot, Bear, and Finn join them too. Lance asks why they are following, and Dot says he needs coins, while Finn simply does not want to be alone in the room, which is fair since students are being drained like dead batteries. As they walk through the halls, they suddenly see Lemon, and Dot rushes toward her, but Lance notices something is wrong. Lemon's body is moving in a strange way, and she has turned into a puppet, so the others avoid looking at her directly and keep moving forward. Dot still thinks she is cute, which proves his judgment is still completely broken. They follow Puppet Lemon to a corner and reach a dead end, where Finn hears a strange cracking sound, and Lance uses magic to reveal a hidden door. Opening the door needs a special spell, so Dot tries to blast it with fireballs, but the door does not move at all. Then Mash grabs a suit of armor, puts it by the door, uses the sword like a lever, and stands on it, ripping the door with so much force that it goes flying across the building and causes huge damage. Lance says Magi Lupus is probably waiting inside, and Mash looks at Lemon's charm and realizes the promise to avoid danger is already impossible. The group enters the hidden passage and discovers a large space under the school, following the tunnel until they reach an arena. A student named Shuen Getsuku appears and says if they want to move forward, they have to defeat him first. Lance gets ready to fight, but Dot steps in first because Shuen is good looking, and Dot cannot stand people who get attention so easily. Dot assumes Shuen's life must have been easy because of his face, but Shuen just thinks Dot is jealous. Shuen turns his wand into a rose whip and the fight starts. Meanwhile, at the Bureau of Magic, Walbert meets the director and learns why he was called. 6 dangerous death row criminals have escaped from prison. The guards have been slaughtered, and the escape is connected to someone known as Innocent Zero, meaning there is another big threat moving in the background besides the school's coin problem. Back in the arena, Dot attacks Shuen with fireballs, but Shuen blocks them with vines, which strike back and Dot barely dodges. Dot fires more shots, but they land around Shuen instead of hitting him. Shuen thinks Dot missed, but Dot explains the marks are dangerous, and Shuen assumes he just has to avoid stepping on them, so he keeps acting confident. Shuen attacks with his rose whip and grabs Dot, growing thorns and stabbing him, and Dot's wand drops, making it look like the fight is over. But Dot reveals he never said the marks had to be stepped on to activate. They are time bombs. One mark explodes and destroys Shuen's wand. Then Dot activates the rest, blasting Shuen away, and Shuen cannot believe he lost to a guy like Dot. Finn congratulates Dot, and Dot gets excited, thinking he is ready for the next enemy, while Shuen keeps posing like his face matters more than the result, even after losing. But before the group can move on, the ground beneath them starts pulling them down. Mash tries to save his cream puff first because priorities are priorities, but everyone gets dragged down and separated. Lance lands alone and feels a strong presence, and the third fang of Magi Lupus appears in front of him, ready to fight. Dot and Finn land together and run into 2 enemies, Milo Genius and Love Cute, who are the 4th and 5th fangs. Finn thinks they are finished, but Dot refuses to give up because his main character disease is still alive. Mash lands alone in a dark room and wonders where everyone went, and the room lights up as the masked student from before appears, introducing himself as Abyss, the 2nd fang of Magi Lupus. Abyss praises Mash's movement from their last meeting, but he has also figured out the dangerous truth. Mash cannot use magic at all. Mash tries to stay calm, but he knows this is bad, because finally someone inside Magi Lupus has noticed his biggest secret. Dot and Finn land together and face Love Cute and Milo Genius from Magi Lupus. Lance faces the 3rd fang, Worthamadel, who uses mud magic and talks like the world is only for strong people. Lance is not interested in his speech, so he attacks with gravity magic, but Worth turns into mud and slips away, then appears behind Lance with several mud clones, making the fight annoying from the start. Lance tries to crush the clones, but they keep reforming, so he realizes he has to hit the real body and uses gravity over the whole area, but Worth grabs him from behind with mud and starts beating him with hardened mud balls strong enough to break concrete. Lance is trapped and keeps starts getting beaten, but still refuses to join Magi Lupus. Worth thinks Lance is wasting his talent by staying with Adler, saying magic depends on a person's environment, teachers, tools, and allies. And in his view, Adler is full of weak people, while Magi Lupus has the best students and resources. Lance rejects this idea and says if Worth thinks strength only comes from surroundings, then Worth is the inferior one. Lance attacks again and throws Worth into the wall, but the impact does not work properly because Worth has covered the room with mud to absorb the damage. Since Lance's gravity magic mostly damages opponents by slamming them into surfaces, Worth thinks he has already won, but Lance changes his method and starts using rocks, raining them down on Worth from different angles and forcing him out of hiding. Worth gets angry and drinks a potion made from the magic essence drained from other students, increasing his power, and uses a higher level spell called Second, creating a huge demon-like mud monster, and explaining that only a few talented double-liners can use this kind of magic, which in his mind proves his worth. Worth remembers his childhood, when his father told him his value was only in his magic skill, so he has always chased power and approval, thinking Lance can never reach him because Lance stays with weak students. But Lance remembers that after meeting Mash, he improved, and then he reveals he can also use Second. Lance creates several gravity pillars around Worth's mud monster, pulling it from every side, then creates another pillar above it, causing the monster to split apart and Worth to be defeated. Worth cannot accept this and starts thinking maybe his father was right, that he is worthless, but Lance throws him his worn-out book and says it shows how hard Worth worked. Lance does not agree with his thinking, but he respects the effort behind his strength, then goes to find the others. Meanwhile, in a dark room, Mash changes into his workout gear and charges him, attacking with speed, but Abyss moves even faster and cuts Mash before he can react. His magic increases his speed, and he keeps dashing around Mash, landing slash after slash, and Mash cannot match his speed. Abyss says they are on different levels and puts down Mash's wish to live peacefully with his family, saying Mash was just lucky to have someone who loved him. Then Abyss shows Mash that Lemon's magic is being drained, and if it continues, she will lose her magic forever and become a person with no place in this world. Mash gets angry and says he will beat him, but anger alone does not fix the speed difference. Abyss attacks at full power, cutting Mash from every direction and finally stabs him in the stomach, but his sword gets stuck. Mash tightens his muscles and holds the blade inside his body, which is just ridiculous. Then headbutts Abyss so hard, his mask breaks. After the mask falls, Mash sees his red eye and thinks maybe it is just bloodshot, so he asks if Abyss is okay. Abyss explains his eye is called the Evil Eye, which can stop anyone from using magic, making him a natural enemy of magicians, so people have feared him his whole life, and even his own family rejected and locked him away. Mash apologizes because the eye cannot do anything to him, since he has no magic to stop. Abyss says Mash cannot understand his pain because Mash had a loving father, then activates his Second's magic and creates a field around them, which drains Mash's speed and adds it to Abyss, making the gap even worse. Abyss keeps attacking while Mash can only block and take damage, but then Mash stops trying to chase him directly, smashes the floor and breaks the ground, limiting Abyss's movement. Abyss tries to retreat, but Mash steps on his foot and traps him in place, then hits him with full force and throws him out of the magic field, breaking the spell and goes after him again. Abyss still tries to fight back, because losing means losing the only purpose Abel gave him, remembering how his parents feared him, hid him, and even tried to get rid of him. Abel may have used him, but at least gave him a reason to live. So now after failing, Abyss feels unwanted again. Mash defeats him with a brutal final move, but instead of treating him like trash, offers to be his friend. Abyss thinks it is impossible, and says Mash will eventually change his mind, but still warns Mash not to go any further, because Abel is on a completely different level. Mash thanks him for the warning, but moves forward anyway, saying his feelings will not change, and telling Abyss that next time, they can eat cream puffs together. After getting separated from the group, Love looks at them and instantly decides they are not a real threat because they are both single-liners, and Milo does not take them seriously either, so he lets Love handle them and goes after Mash. Love starts acting cute and asks if they like her, and Dot realizes she is trying to play with him, but his weakness for girls starts coming out again. He still tries to stop himself since he already thinks of Lemon as his future wife, and Finn watches all this, feeling like he has seen this same pathetic problem before. When Dot refuses to properly worship Love, she gets angry and says, "Guys who do not praise girls like queens do not deserve to live." Dot thinks she's going way too far, but Love does not care and attacks with tornado magic, blowing Dot away. Dot gets back up and fires his bombs at her, but she easily blocks them, so Dot changes his move, and instead of attacking directly, sends shots around her, creating smoke and marks on the ground. He uses the smoke to rush and grab her wand, but Love reacts fast and blasts him back before he can grab it. While Dot is down, Love explains Milo's magic. He can turn a chosen target to stone, and the target is the person person who opened the hidden door. Since Mash opened that door, if Dot and Finn do not stop them in 30 minutes, Mash will turn to stone. Then Love traps Dot in a tornado cage and says there is no way to escape, so Dot keeps struggling inside the tornado while Finn stands by helplessly. Love mocks Mash for having weak friends and says going against Abel with people like this is stupid. Dot starts to lose hope, but then remembers his childhood, when some kids bullied him and his sister once stood up for him using her magic. She told him that if he ever got real friends who would stand up for him, he should fight to protect them instead of running away. Dot remembers Mash helped him before, and Love's words about friends finally push him over the edge. When Love is about to finish Finn, Dot breaks out of the tornado cage. Love attacks again, but Dot's power suddenly increases and he cancels her magic, and a new mark appears on his forehead, which makes Love realize something has changed. Dot says insulting his friends is a crime, then fills the arena with fireballs. Love panics as Dot attacks, but when the smoke clears, she is still alive because Dot purposely missed. He tells her to give up because he does not like hurting girls. But before the fight can end, stone hands appear behind Finn. Dot pushes Finn out of the way and blocks the attack. Milo returns and sees Love has failed. Finn feels relief because Milo stopped targeting Mash, but now Milo prepares to crush them. The stone hands are about to hit when suddenly a sword pierces and blasts Milo away. Finn instantly recognizes the sword. Rain Ames appears, the divine visionary, Adler Dorm's ace, and Finn's older brother. Milo tries to stay calm since Rain is still a student too, but his confidence almost instantly disappears. He attacks with a stone hand and Rain cuts it without effort, then launches many swords at him, making Milo completely helpless. Milo starts begging for his life, while Dot wonders if Rain is really on their side because his fighting style is brutal. Rain tells him to leave, saying he will handle the rest, and Love also runs away, realizing it is not safe to stay near him. Rain goes deeper inside the hidden area, since Headmaster Wahlberg sent him to investigate a lead connected to Innocent Zero, thinking one of their pawns might be hiding in the school, maybe with their magic power hidden. During the search, he finds Mash, who's just eating a cream puff even though he is in enemy territory. Rain notices something strange in Mash's aura and suspects he might be connected to the enemy, so he summons a spider that can measure magic power and then attacks Mash with a sword to test him. Mash catches the sword and wonders what is even happening, and the spider reads 0 magic power, but Rain thinks that cannot be correct, so he uses a small part of his strength and attacks again. Mash blocks the attack in his own stupid way and turns the swords into a chair. Rain finally asks his name, and when Mash answers, Rain remembers Wahlberg mentioning a strange new student. He realizes Mash is not the enemy and apologizes for attacking. But Mash does not accept the apology so easily, so Rain gives him a magic handkerchief that can heal wounds. Mash notices the rabbit design and thinks Rain must like rabbits, but thanks him anyway. Rain then warns Mash about Abel, who has the most coins right now, and if Mash wants to become the next divine visionary, Abel is in his way. Rain says Abel's doll magic is dangerous, especially for someone who cannot use magic, but Mash still insists he can use magic, even though Rain already knows he is lying. Rain does not argue much and wishes him luck, saying he is only helping for his own reasons, but remembers Wahlberg saying Mash puts his friends before himself and even saved Finn, so Rain quietly supports Mash's goal. Mash moves forward, knowing Abel is waiting for him. Mash finally reaches Abel's room and stands in front of the door, and this time he strangely opens the door normally, which already feels weird for him, but then he remembers Lemon and just kicks the door open anyway, since old habits are stronger than common sense. Inside, Abel is waiting for him, and is surprised Mash made it this far, thinking Mash must have defeated Abyss and might be close to divine visionary level. Mash gets nervous for a second, thinking Abel has discovered his secret, but Abel just thinks Mash is another strong superior being like him, so Mash feels relieved. Abel starts explaining his plan again, wanting to remove people he sees as weak, including those who cannot use magic, underachievers, and even those who protect them. Mash asks if he means people without magic, and Abel confirms it like it is normal. Mash remembers Regro, who adopted him even though he knew Mash had no magic, and remembers Regro giving him his first cream puff and proudly calling him his son, so Mash decides he cannot go along with Abel. After escaping Rain, Love reaches Abel's room but freezes when she sees Mash fighting Abel. Abel sends acid puppets at Mash, who crushes one, but acid leaks from its body, and Abel warns him to be careful. Mash decides not to touch them directly, so he grabs a puppet's head and throws it like a bowling ball, knocking down all the acid puppets in a clean strike, and Love cannot believe that was his solution. Mash asks Abel if he will call himself weak if he he loses and also asks where Lemon is, but Abel pretends not to know. Then he brings out stronger puppets, thinking Mash will struggle, but Mash blasts them away since the same trick does not work on him twice. Mash demands that if he wins, Abel must release Lemon, and Abel admits Mash is stronger than before, so he uses a worse method. He controls Mash's body with strings and makes Mash attack himself. Mash starts choking himself and cannot move properly, but Abel suddenly stops, saying such a victory would be too easy and crude. Instead, he brings out Finn, who has been turned into a puppet, and reveals he also captured Dot. But since Dot is too injured, Finn becomes the tool for his game. Finn attacks Mash with an axe, and Mash blocks him, but Abel warns that if he blocks again, he will tear Finn apart, so Mash has no choice but to let Finn hit him again and again. Abel keeps giving his deep speech about people's fake goodness, but Mash does not care about his words. Finn's axe finally breaks against Mash's body, but Mash stands there like the damage is just a small inconvenience. Mash takes out his gold coin, and Abel thinks he is finally giving up, but Mash flicks the coin, cutting the strings controlling Finn. Finn starts returning to normal, and the coin returns to Mash, who says maybe the coin likes him more, which just irritates Abel further. Abel finally stops playing and tries to control Mash again, but Mash resists, and Abel says no human can fight his power. Mash pushes forward with pure force, breaking Abel's finger from the pressure, then frees himself and knees Abel in the face. Abel uses his main puppet spell and turns Mash into a puppet, thinking the fight is over because a puppet cannot think or move on its own. But when Abel reaches into Mash's pocket to take the coin, he pulls out a cream puff instead. That mistake wakes up something even more dangerous, and Mash moves on reflex, breaking the spell and punching Abel, because taking his cream puff is apparently a life-risking decision. Abel cannot understand how Mash moved without brain signals, then realizes Mash's body reacted like a spinal reflex, the way a person instantly moves after touching something hot. Love thinks it is ridiculous that a cream puff could trigger such a response, but in Mash's case, it somehow makes sense. Abel admits Mash is a serious threat and uses stolen magic power from other students, activating his seconds and summoning a giant puppet that can turn anyone in a large range into a puppet with invisible strings. Love panics because she is in range too, but Abel does not care. Strings fall everywhere, but Mash survives, shocking Abel because Mash should have been transformed. Mash explains he tore the strings by moving his body so the strings touch different parts at different times, then ripped them off with whichever side he could still control. Abel starts to wonder if Mash is even human. Abel attacks again with a giant puppet, but Mash destroys it and appears behind him, slamming Abel into the ground and winning. Abel remembers his mother, a kind noblewoman who helped commoners and believed privilege was just luck. But a greedy man killed her when she refused to give him everything. After that, Abel decided weak people were dangerous and needed to be purged. Mash tells him bad people exist in every class, so blaming all weak people is wrong. Since Mash has won, Abel agrees to release Lemon and the other students, breaking his spell, and Lemon appears. Mash catches her, Finn wakes up, Lemon thanks Mash for saving her, Finn starts crying with relief, and Dot crawls over to remind everyone he helped too. Abel watches them celebrate and cannot believe he lost to people like this. Then Finn realizes Lance is missing. In a deeper part of the dungeon, Lance appears before Rain, but Rain attacks him right away. The fake Lance blocks the strike, and Rain realizes this is not the real Lance. The intruder reveals he is connected to Innocent Zero and says they are searching for something inside the school. Rain keeps chasing the Innocent Zero lead and finds the intruder moving deeper inside the school, and it becomes clear Abel was only being used for information, and now that he has failed, the enemy has no more use for him. Rain tries to stop the man, but a huge knife blocks him, and another criminal appears to handle Rain while the main intruder heads for Abel. Somewhere else, Regro and Brad are wondering how Mash is doing at Easton. Regro just hopes Mash's secret of having no magic has not been exposed, while Brad is wandering around like he has nothing better to do. Their worry is fair, because Mash's life is about to get messy again. Mash and his friends are still celebrating after Abel's defeat. Lemon, Finn, and Dot are relieved, while Abel and Love are watching them like they cannot understand how these idiots won. The students who returned into puppets have also returned to normal, so it seems like the worst part is over. Then Mash goes to the bathroom, which is terrible timing, because as soon as he leaves, Selwar arrives and his presence alone freezes everyone. Dot thinks about fighting for a second, but instantly realizes the power gap is disgusting. Cell goes straight to Abel and calls him useless for losing, thanking him for giving information about the headmaster. But since Abel could not find the person they were searching for, there is no reason to keep him alive. He controls Abel's hands and makes him choke himself. Mash comes back with a plate of cream puffs, ready to continue the celebration, with no idea what is happening, and his friends try to warn him it is not the time, but a fly lands lands on his nose and he sneezes, sending the cream puffs flying into Cell's hair. Abel escapes because of this dumb accident, while Mash just asks for his cream puffs back. Cell, annoyed, throws the cream puffs on the ground, which shakes Mash even more than a murder attempt. But then Cell suddenly gets a headache and senses something from Mash. He starts to think maybe this weird cream puff guy is the person they are searching for, but still decides to kill Abel first, lifting him into the air. Mash moves to save Abel, but Abyss Razor steps in and takes the attack himself, protecting Abel despite everything that happened, and Mash rushes to him right away. Abyss apologizes because he thinks he will not get to eat cream puffs with Mash, so Mash gives him Rain's healing handkerchief and tells him to hold on. Cell is surprised the attack was not fatal, then realizes Mash threw a rock at the last second to change the spell's direction. Now Mash gets angry, breaks the ground, and kicks a rock at Cell, but Cell catches it and starts licking it like a complete freak, and Mash just finds him weird. Cell tells him Abyss only has 30 minutes before help is useless, then attacks with magic spikes. Mash blocks them with his fists, but Cell keeps increasing the pressure. At first, Mash cannot get close, and Cell fires stronger attacks, forcing Mash to defend again and again. Abel watches and thinks Mash cannot win against someone standing so far above them, remembering his mother's words that privilege is just luck, and for a moment he thinks they have no chance against Cell's power. But Mash says Abyss was happy because Abel gave him a reason to live when everyone else rejected him. Abel remembers his mother's words about seeing things from another person's side and finally understands Abyss's loyalty. Cell gets bored and launches even bigger attacks, and Mash keeps pushing forward but still has a distance problem. Then Abel's doll protects Mash, and Cell easily crushes the doll, thinking Abel wasted his last move, but one of the puppet heads moves and Mash bursts out from inside it. Abel used the puppet as a distraction so Mash could get close enough. Mash lands a heavy punch on Cell's face, and even though Cell has armor, the hit still damages him. Cell assumes Mash is using some strange magic, so he pulls out a reflection mirror. Dot recognizes it and warns Mash the mirror reflects any magic back at the user. Cell thinks Mash has no way to attack now, but Mash just kicks the mirror and breaks it, then still hits him. That is when everyone finally understands the truth. Mash's power is not magic at all. Cell then sees a mark appear on his hand and confirms Mash is the person they were searching for, but before the fight can continue, space shatters and two giant hands appear. Cell says he has urgent business and tells Mash they will meet again soon, then disappears. Abel takes Abyss to the infirmary, and Abyss hopes next time he can eat cream puffs with Mash. Abel thanks Mash and promises he will return the favor one day. Mash's friends gather around him, but they are still shaken because his secret is out, and they worry that if anyone finds out Mash cannot use magic, he will be in serious trouble. Mash tries to claim he can totally use magic, but no one buys the weak lie. One of the students who heard everything wakes up and says he will report Mash, and Mash acts like his time has finally come, then calmly starts eating a cream puff.